you wrote this book then. This summer, there were protests here in Ireland at libraries. I'm sure you saw those protests. How did that make you feel?
Do you know, it really makes me sad because, you know, it's 20 years since Section 28 was repealed in the United Kingdom. That was the piece of legislation that stopped teachers from being able to help me when I was at school.
So that was a piece of legislation in England brought in by Mrs. Thatcher.
Correct, yeah.
Where basically nothing about being gay could be taught or supported in schools.
Correct, yeah. And teachers or librarians or social workers could lose their jobs. So when I had a horrific time at high school, and the teachers knew, and the teachers could see what was happening, but they couldn't really help. And it bums me out that even 20 years on from that there are young LGBTQ 13, 14-year-olds watching the news, what was happening in Cork, and sort of, they must still think, am I something controversial? Like, am I something that's worth protesting? Because really the people might be protesting my book, but really what they're protesting is my existence or the existence of people like me. And it just makes me sad still that young people, even in 2023, are still getting that kind of implicit messaging that they are something worth protesting. It sometimes feels like we haven't moved on from 1997.
It is weird, isn't it? Because, you know, when you look at 2015 here in Ireland and there was the referendum and led the world with same-sex marriage, and I'm sure you watched on and applauded.
Yeah, I was at Eurovision in Vienna.
Of course you were.
Yeah, where else would I be? And I was with a bunch of Irish friends, and it was, we had a drink that night. And it was brilliant. And it went from Ireland overnight, went from being a nation that was slightly behind the curve to actually being slightly ahead of the curve. Because within the same breath that they made gay marriage legal, they also reformed gender recognition, which meant that trans people in Ireland, who of course know themselves, could start the legal process of changing their gender without needing the permission of two doctors, which is the system in the UK at the moment. You need to be diagnosed twice. And so Ireland is now a world leader and way ahead of the UK.
So you say that. These protests then in Ireland, there were also protests, people coming out in support of the book as well.
Yes.
You know, what would you say to those people that came out and supported you?
A massive, massive thank you. And it's those people that I worry about most. Like, I got rid of Twitter a while ago, and it was one of the best things I've done, would highly recommend. And seriously, and I don't really see it. I sometimes get emails from my publishers saying, oh, this has happened. But I really, really worry about those librarians and those teachers and those booksellers, because I've been a teacher and I know what it's like to see a parent storm towards you at the school gates with that kind of look, and you think, oh, what have I done now? And I worry, and I think those librarians down in Cork must have felt quite unsafe, but they stood their ground. We agree that, do we really want people telling us what we can and can't read? Like, where does that stop? You know, at what point, you know, if you start banning one book, where does that stop? I don't really see where that journey ends. And so I would just want to say a huge, huge thank you, because, you know, it must have been really, really scary.